Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio. And now, here's our host, Dr. Vanessa Anceloni.
Welcome, dear listener, to Kardec Radio. We are here at the Virginia, United States of America studios at Kardec Radio, and we are very, very happy to be here with you. And it's a joy, a joy. And wherever you are in the world, we are always here looking forward to nourishing your soul. Today, our program is about new psychology for well-being. And Richard Barrett from the United Kingdom is going to be here with us talking about his latest book on the very topic. Meanwhile, we'd like to remind you that the United States Medical Spiritist Association is going to have their own event. It's their conference, which is the 6th U.S. and the 2nd International Spiritist Medical Meeting, the new dawn of a new era in medicine. It's happening in October 1st and 2nd, and you're invited to register at www.sma-us.org. Again, www.sma-us.org. It's going to happen in Washington, D.C., and it's a meeting that talks about this intersection between spirituality and medicine. It's very, very important to create a new paradigm for humanity. SMA-us.org. Also, if you are in the United States and you want to know more about the Spiritist movement around the world, or in the United States as well, just go to the United States Spiritist Council's website, spiritist.us, and you get to know more information about it. By the way, Jusara Korngold, who is the president of the United States Spiritist Council, as we just mentioned, is going to start in September new program at Kardec Radio on Fridays at 8 p.m., all about mediumship in the air. She is a scholar in the field who has been helping many, many people to know what to do with their mediumship. So the programs are going to be on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, starting September 2nd. And last week, we started a new program, Medical Spiritist Talks, every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. And you just go to kardecradio.com and listen to the programs because they are right there for you. It's amazing. It's something not to miss. Every day we have new programs at Kardec Radio, and here you have a new opportunity to recharge yourself. Well, let's talk about well-being. As we talk about well-being, we think of many things. One of them is about the integral well-being, the well-being of ourselves as immortal beings. Many people are looking forward to stable physical health, but we forget that we're much more than the physical body. So how can we achieve this immortal health? It's beyond the physical death. Many people are interested in getting rid of a cancer to live better in this life, but they forget that it's not only going there, doing a surgery and getting rid of your tumor or doing chemotherapy. It's beyond it. The question is, what can I do to have a life, an immortal lifelong health? Asking ourselves about our thoughts and feelings. Many people are asking themselves about how they can be happier, but it begins with us. And these are not silly statements. These are actual health-related statements. Our thoughts, create life. Allan Kardec, in the book Genesis, is the book that he wrote. He talks about the photography of our thoughts. Each thought creates images, and they may be living according to the intensity of our thoughts and the frequency of them, the duration of them. And they may manifest in our lives. It doesn't happen overnight, but it happens. So if we want health, let us think of health. If we want joy, let us think of joy. If we want peace, let us think of peace. If we want harmony, let us think of harmony. Plus, another thing we need to observe is emotions. Majority of people on the earth are looking forward to being better and feeling better without observing their emotions. Most people on the earth are literal emotional beings. They don't really know what they are feeling. They are afraid. Majority of people are afraid of their own emotions. They prefer to repress or to let it flow without control. And then we find problems. And see people say, that's the way I am. No. We can be better than this. But we need coaching. We need schools for our emotion. How can we do it? By breathing in and out when we're feeling something and we can't control. Breathe in and out. Observe. It works even with children, toddlers. The other day, Virginia, who is almost 3, my daughter, she was like, I was frustrated. I want this, that, and the other. And I said, Virginia, take it easy. Breathe in and out. I know what you're feeling is frustration, but it's not going to solve just by expressing it. Breathe in and out. And you feel that your frustration is going to go away. Breathe in and out. In and out. In less than a minute, she forgot about it all. It's a training. For us as adults, we need that training too. Reading books that inspire us to new levels of emotional response, behavioral response, is also a way to rewire our brains and foster a new pathway of feeling. Okay? So today we're going to talk about much, much more than this. We hope to connect with Dr. Richard Barrett, who is in the United Kingdom, so he can talk about his very, very book. Meanwhile, I'd like to inspire you and kickstart the program with a beautiful message named Omnipotent Love. And soon after this, we'll be able to open the program talking about the new psychology for our well-being.
Omnipotent Love. At the distressful time of crisis in which circumstances took your soul into trial, many believed that you would no longer rise. However, when shadows thickened around you, you found the blinding light, which impelled you toward the path of hope bathed in sunlight. In the cell of disease, many admitted that nothing was left for you but to accept the scythe of death. However, at the extreme moments, intangible hands caressed the exhausted body, renewing its warmth, so that you would not leave incomplete the service that marks your presence on earth. In the midst of temptation, many agreed that decadence was all that was left for you. However, at the edge of the muddy cliff where you were, an invisible arm manifested itself, deterring you. In the valley in which you threw yourself without thinking, many despised you for good. Nevertheless, at the threshold of madness, you received inner support that guarded your heart, reconstructing your life. In the hut of loneliness, in which the most cherished relatives relegated you, many believed you to be forlorn. But at the end of your weeping, which appeared to be endless for you, you experienced an unexplainable uplift that encouraged you to seek new bonds which honored you. While in the midst of turmoil that envelops you during the day, think about God, the omnipotent love, which does not forsake us. No matter how great the affliction, He will bring a balm that consoles. No matter how obscure the problem, He will give a fair and correct solution. Even so, do not hasten in personifying or defining Him. The word of Christ is enough for us. He who revealed God is our Father. Above all, do not bother if someone denies God's existence, even if their words shine in the world, because you will find God within your heart in moments of pain. It is natural that it be like that. It is when the night comes that the eyes of humanity can devise the splendor of the stars.
Yes, dear listener, this is Omnipotent Love. For those who are asking us where this message comes from, it's from a book and CD, Enlightening Messages. And you can acquire this book and the CD at the bookstore of the Spiritist Society of Baltimore. Just go to ssbaltimore.org and buy the book or the CD. You're going to love it. I love this. I remember when we produced the CD and put together the book. And, of course, we're not the authors of the messages. They are several spirits through the medium Chico Xavier. But this book and CD are so inspiring. Something for you to have in your car, the opportunity of you listening it as you go. Well, you know, we're connecting with Dr. Richard Barrett from the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, we have to wait for the connection. There is no other way. While we wait for him, we're going to keep talking about the Spiritist view on new well-being, the well-being of ourselves. And just hold on, dear friends, because, you know, we have to be patient with this. There's no other choice. Meanwhile, let us keep talking about the Spiritist point of view on well-being. You know, we're used from many lives to the well-being of the body, thinking that this is the ultimate well-being. It is not. Even the United Nations, the World Health Organization has already come to the conclusion that well-being is much more than physical health. It's spiritual, mental, and physical health, social health as well. So you see how many dimensions we have to work with. And the question is, what are we doing to actually foster this broad spectrum of well-being? It's just beyond it. Plus, we can't forget that Dr. Andrea Lewis talks about well-being from the perspective of immortality. We can't lose sight that we bring from many lives conditionings that automatically continue in this lifetime. You can see this from birth, the birth of a baby in the crib. You can observe the behaviors, the attitude. If we are wise enough to observe that, we're going to be able to help that immortal being who is reincarnating to create greater well-being. All right? So in ourselves, we need to ask, am I just repeating old patterns? Because that's more likely than not what we're doing in our daily lives. What can we do? We can foster a new spectrum of well-being by think of ourselves as spirits who are connected to a physical body. All right? So I would like to share with you, there are many books like In the Greater World by the spirit doctor Andrea Lewis. They talk about ourselves as immortal spirits. And, you know, it's interesting because there's a chapter titled In the Sanctuary of the Soul, in which the spirit instructor is talking about People who are physically paralyzed, but deep inside, we're much more than just the physical body. We need to meditate about this question and think about the fact that we are beings that live many, many, many lives. Like, for example, in Kardec's book, Spiritism in its simplest expression, we have the opportunity of understanding ourselves from a new angle. We are not somebody who's going to live here forever. It's interesting because neuroscience has already proved to us that we have this illusion that we can, live forever. That's the illusion. People talk about death as if death is not going to happen. People even say, if I die, actually, even if we don't believe in immortality, as Benjamin Franklin said, death and taxes are sure things. That's a sure thing. So, death is a true event. But in our society, we're so unconscious, like we are so in this sleep consciousness that we don't even prepare ourselves for that moment. We live our lives as if life is never going to put a stop in this incarnation. Even if you don't believe in the afterlife, what is the point? I remember talking to a colleague who is also a neuroscientist. He doesn't believe in any of this. But we were just having a nice conversation. He said, Vanessa, tell me, why do you believe these things? And I said, I don't believe. I'm sure about it because I'm a medium. That's the way it is. But also, I think to myself, I shared with him, what is the point of being a person like you? You work so hard. You are such a good professional. You are honest, sincere. And then life ends. What is the point of being so hardworking if life's going to end anyway? He looked at me and said, I don't know the answer. It's so interesting that we're so smart in our intellect, but spiritually speaking, we're still very, very immature. We don't think about life's major questions. Major questions like life and death. Death is a happening. To do well in life, we need to know how to deal with the transition, which is death, pertaining to our well-being. Because the death of loved ones impact us, the ephemeral aspect of life can affect us as well. When changes happen, like moving homes, new baby, new job, anything new, like sometimes we say, I want something new in my life. I want changes. But when changes happen, we're so stressed out. Why? Because deep inside, we're not cherishing this point of view that life is here to change. Life is here to propose new beginnings. Life is here to propose transformation. The minute, I remember one day being very stressed out because we were moving to another location, and I was making a walking meditation. And then I remember the spirit mentor Joseph saying, Vanessa, observe that bird and the tree nearby. They don't know what's going to happen next, but they are not stressed out either. The tree doesn't need to know what's going to happen next for it to be there, doing its job and helping us, helping everyone in the world. You don't need to know what's going to happen next, and even if you knew, it doesn't guarantee it's going to happen anyway. So breathe in and out and enjoy this moment and trust that everything else is going to be provided by God. After all, we are sustained by God. It's not only about being created by God, but we're sustained by God. That very moment, I started breathing in and out, and I felt like everything is okay. All that I need is surrender, nothing else. And once I started surrendering, that conflict about letting go of what I know, the current one, to the new beginning, just diluted itself away with the certainty that we are never abandoned, that we will always have the resources that we need. How do we know it? God is abundant. Many people are scared when they hear this, that God is abundant. They're like, oh my gosh, that's too much. Well, if we put a stop at it, we will lack voluntarily. But to get into the flow of abundance, we need to accept it. And it's not only abundance of money. Talking about money, did you know, dear listener, there's a book titled Money by the wise spirit author Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. It was published recently by the United States Spiritist Council. Go to their website, spiritist.us, and put your order in. It's a pocketbook. It's worthwhile having it with us. And you know, it talks about abundance as we speak. There is a paragraph here I want to read to you that talks about that. And it says, okay, 1 second, just flipping the pages. Elevate your soul to constant work, which will likely generate life's highly elevated assets of studying and learning, of helping and loving, whether in abundance or in shortage of material resources. In this way, you have your heart shining, since it will be shining in you like a blessed star. And talking about abundance, in abundance or scarcity, being assertive or subservient, despise not, thou act and serve, because in the concessions of space and time, work is common talent to all, and in doing this work, it is intended to magnify the spirit in the direction of the great spheres. This is the book, beautiful book, that gives us direction regarding money in general from a spiritist perspective. It's a beautiful book. There is a specific chapter talking about wealth, and it's beautiful because it doesn't condemn it. On the contrary, it elevates it, and it talks about the importance of material resources as well if managed wisely. There's a chapter talking about studying money, and money from a perspective of the illuminated minds of the beyond, and it's something that can be really, really illuminating for each and every one of us. Just go, please, to the website of the United States Spiritist Council, spiritist.us, and you can buy this book, Money, from them, okay? Well, we're still waiting for Dr. Barrett. We are waiting for him, but meanwhile, we're studying about our well-being. Divaldo Franco gave a beautiful talk in Baltimore, Maryland, many years ago when we hosted the event in 2004. And he talked about mental health from the Spiritist perspective. And the book is titled Understanding Spiritual Mental Health, and you can acquire the book just by going to the website of the Spiritist out of Baltimore, ssbaltimore.org. And it talks about mental health from a Spiritist view, telling us about the importance of seeing ourselves as immortal spirits. And you, dear listener, do you see yourself as an immortal being? It's something for us to meditate upon. Meanwhile, we're going to, as we wait for Dr. Richard Barrett, we're going to stream to you another message named Doubt and Failure, hoping that Dr. Barrett's going to be connected with us.
Chapter 16, Doubt and Failure.
To doubt is a healthy attitude when we seek a better understanding of the causes of things and situations. In scientific investigation, for instance, to doubt is a necessity until the findings are proved right. Schools of thought usually start with questioning in order to reach for new concepts and expanded information. Systematic doubt, however, expresses an imbalance of reason and generates emotional problems. As far as spiritual realities are concerned, no laboratory experiment has been able to prove that there is no intelligent life after death. On the other hand, there are facts that assert spirit's survival to bodily death and its pre-existence to birth. Unstable people try to shun their assumed duties, excusing themselves with doubt, and do not care to persist in the search for spirit reality. A patient who doubts his own cure corrodes his mind with pessimistic thoughts and destroys the very elements which would promote health. Consequently, his pathological condition aggravates regardless of proper clinical treatment. A fighter who doubts his victory loses the combat before it starts. The farmer who doubts the potential in the seed and behaves carelessly will not see his plantation flourish. A business person who doubts the success of his trade gets easily discouraged and will certainly be disheartened by failure. Sometimes, doubt is an attitude of self-accommodation. The person tries to ignore new ideas and facts to avoid the need to change his way of living. Spiritual life and the interference of the dead in the activities of the living are realities taught by all ancient civilizations. The Spiritist doctrine, a legitimate heir to Christ's thoughts, has brought the essence of these teachings back without allegory, deception, or distortion. When confronted with problems of faith and behavior, examine critically the opinions presented to you, then study the teachings of the Spiritist doctrine to be able to discern more clearly. The laws of God are perfect, His providence merciful. Nobody is forgotten or spiritually orphaned. Liberate yourself from the petty conflicts of systematic doubt. A rational belief will open up new horizons for you. Doubt and disbelief generate great suffering. Remember what Jesus told the Apostle Thomas, who was doubtful whether the Master had really returned from the dead. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed.
Beautiful message. This is from the book and CD, Living and Loving. Again, you can acquire it at the Spiritist out of Baltimore's website, okay? Dear listener, we're here and we're rejoicing with the opportunity of having you here as well. Would like to remind you that unfortunately something has happened with Dr. Barrett. We pray for him. He's not able to join us today. We hope we can reschedule with him and have him here very soon talking about his book, The New Psychology of Well-Being, which is fantastic. Meanwhile, we are going to talk about it from the Spiritist perspective. What is well-being? Well-being from a spiritual perspective, from a Spiritist perspective. Well, if you read the book, The Messengers, in each second chapter, it talks about this beautiful concept of the fact that we're this threefold composition. We're spirit with a spiritual body that we call perispirit and a physical body. Just in an analogy, just so we have an idea, it's like they say in the book. It's like you have the horseman, which is the spirit, the horse, the spiritual body, and the carriage, which is the physical body. When the physical body dies, it's like the carriage is broken. But the horse, which is the spiritual body, and the horsemen keep themselves freely and actually much freer. So it's not that bad. You know, it's not that bad. And people sometimes are afraid of death. And we ask, why are we afraid of death if death is something we already know? It happened to us in previous lives. I know Kardec talks about it in the book Heaven and Hell, that the fear of death has many, many different facets. Some people are afraid because they know they're not fulfilling what they need to fulfill. Second, there is some form of important need to preserve ourselves in this life, which is important. And third, because of previous lives' experiences. Sometimes in previous lives we discarnated and the physical body died in dramatic ways, and we just don't want to go there anymore. So it's natural that we fear, but we need to face it. We need to go. It's important for us to go through this new understanding. So the other day we received an email from a listener at Kardec Radio asking, How do I deal with the loss of a loved one? That impacts my well being. It's been 10 years and I don't think I can let it go. Well, the understanding about the afterlife and the continuity is also a way. Knowing that when we weep too much, the loved ones who departed, we're not helping them either. So that's why we would recommend to that listener that you kindly read the books by André Luiz through Chico Xavier, from No Solar to And Life Goes On and Liberation in the Greater World, Missionaries of the Light, The Messengers, so you can have the opportunity of going through the process of revisiting death from a new perspective. Death is not the end. We actually have not lost anybody because nobody disappears. We actually have the opportunity of expanding ourselves even more after this life. Okay? So think about it, and you still have a question, send us an email at kardecradio@gmail.com. Other people are asking us about new ways of listening to Kardec Radio, and I'm going to share with you that if you go to our website, kardecradio.com, we have changed a few features to make it easier for you to listen to the programs as well. If you have a connection to the podcast about Blog Talk Radio, it's going to be easy. But if you go to kardecradio.com, the previous programs is there for you embedded. You just click and listen. And the shows of each and every day of the week, if you click on our weekly schedule, it's going to give you the list of previous programs that have already passed. And you're going to have access to specifically the topics of Kardec Radio for Kids, Kardec Radio for Teens, The Messengers, Medical Spiritist Talks, and Spiritist Awareness every Friday, Health and Spirituality on Saturdays, and Sundays, Spiritism and Spirit World Around Us. It's very, very straightforward. It's going to be much easier for you. All right? Right now, we would like to read to you a message that goes hand in hand with well-being. It's from the book, probably you haven't heard about it, Free Birds by Tagore Spirit through Divaldo Franco. It's kind of poetic, so we're going to read it to you. When your music woke me up to life, I remembered that I had been sleeping under the anesthesia of a dream. I had crossed the threshold of unreality, setting up residence there in the country of fantasy. I was breathing, smiling, feeling pleasure, but remained empty, fleeing from reality which sought me out. Wherever and whenever I stopped, I feared I would be woken. Happiness for a restless soul is to remain in movement, though tiredness is consuming and makes for giddy thoughts, as one forgets the art of rationalization. That was how I found myself. The rhythm drove me to repose, in quietude, a plunge into an inner ocean. If I let myself be drawn in, I would drown in the turbulent waters of anxiety, returning to the wide beaches of hallucination. Used to the tumult and a companion of dissatisfaction, I changed places, like the wind rushing through the trees, directionless, looking elsewhere for what I had been unable to find. I knew you were calling me, lost in my detours. I feared that route, looking for the goal. I did not want to arrive, because I knew that if I stopped, I would experience your illumination. Now that your music has woken me, I fall quiet and meditate. Through this, I enjoy your light, which expands from within me, lighting up my whole being. I no longer want to escape. Let me flourish in wisdom and fall silent to hear your voice, my singer and my king. Beautiful, poetic text by Tagore through the hands of Divaldo Franco. This book can be found at the website of the Spiritist Group of New York, sgny.org. You know, dear listener, we're here talking about well-being. Dr. Barrett cannot be here with us today, but we hope we can reschedule soon and we can talk to him about his latest book, which kind of bridges up with the Spiritist concepts, the new psychology of well-being. Meanwhile, let's talk about the importance of discussing this concept of well-being. Well-being from a perspective of immortality. We need to get used to it. It's interesting that in the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, when he asks this question about how we can be better and evolve faster, he says, and avoid wrongdoings. He says, you need to know yourself, the Spirit say to Kardec. So self-knowledge is very important. And the question here is, how much do we know about ourselves? We still live in a pace in our society, trying to do the opposite of what Tagore was saying, trying to run away from ourselves, flee from our own inner reality, putting awareness, being mindful in our very moment is the opportunity for us. So how can we do this, dear listener? That's a good question, right? A very, very important question. And one of the important questions is this. Let me read to you a paragraph of a message titled Self-Liberation by Emmanuel. Learn to be alone so that you can be freer in carrying out the duties that unites you to all others, and keep your mind on the heavenly friend who took the narrow way of the cross. What is it saying exactly as Tagore? Meditating is so important to get to know of ourselves. How often do you meditate? Don't know how to meditate? It's easy. Breathe in and out deeply. Listening, put your attention to your breathing. Breathing in and out. And listening to the breath going in and out. You will not be easily distracted by other things. And if you do, just keep doing it. And as soon as you get into this relaxation mode, you will be in another state of the mind, consciousness, that will allow you to observe thoughts and feelings. Don't be afraid. You don't need to do anything. Some people tell me, Vanessa, I'm afraid of doing it. What if I get into this mediumistic state? I say, you trust God and that's it. You don't need to be afraid. Observe. Remember, you're in control of your body by molecule. No other spirit, discarnate spirit, can actually take possession of your physical body. It's impossible. That's why Kardec never considered the term possession. If you read in the Medium's book about obsession, he says we don't like the word possession because it's mechanistically impossible for somebody to possess your body, because we are connected to our physical bodies molecule by molecule. Of course, there is what we call subjugation, but not through possession. So if we breathe in and out, we are controlling our physical body. Observe emotions and thoughts as if you were in a movie theater. If it becomes difficult, deepen your breathing rhythm. Breathe in and out. And emotions are not like waves of the ocean. They're not going to eat us up. People are afraid of emotions, but they are vital for us. Emotions, as the word says, motion, movere. It's a movement that externalizes. It's something that is vibrating inside of us and it goes out. That's all that is. So we just observe because they're passing. They will go through and they may change. We don't need to actually worry about them. Oh, but I'm so angry, I don't know what to do. Breathe in and out. Observe. Just observe. And you see that the anger is going to be diluted at each breath. So tell yourself, I'm diluting this emotion at each breath. Diluting my emotion at each breath. And sadness. Oh my God, I'm so sad. This sadness is going to take me over. No, breathe in and out. Observe it. And tell yourself, I'm diluting this sadness in each and every breath. Each and every breath. Diluting it. It's gone. And think about positive things. One thing is for sure about positive and well-being is that if we don't think about the good things, they are not going to happen. The other day, somebody sent us a question through Kardec Radio, and I took this opportunity of the program to answer the question. The question is this: is it really powerful to think about positive things? Can we really create new things by thinking of positive things? And the answer is there's no other way. Good things are not going to happen just because we constructed them. We are co-creators. If you don't think about health, if we don't think about love, if we don't think about harmony, they're not going to be present. We need to think about them with intensity, frequency, and duration to make them manifest. That's how life works. You know, if you don't plant the seed in the soil of the earth, no tree is going to be there. You have to cultivate it, and that's the word. Cultivate what you want to have it happening in your life. That's the secret to well-being. Many things that are happening to us today, previous lives' choices. Today, we're creating the new future for us. So it's not important to keep looking back and saying, what have I done? What I have done is a blessing because now I'm learning a new lesson and progressing. Now what I'm doing today is creating the new future for me. So what do I want to create? If I keep criticizing, nagging, I'm not creating anything different. Life is going to be a lifelong, non-stop, very blurry day for us. If we want a shiny day of new ideas, new feelings, happiness, I need to create them. How do I do it? Loving kindness to ourselves and others. That's how we do. So we hope we have answered this question. The other question we want to address is by a parent. I'm not saying the names here because people ask to be anonymous, but a parent who wrote actually through the website of spiritistparenting.org, which is an international coalition to help parents around the world, asking if we can help this child grow with good self-esteem by just saying positive things. Well, self-esteem is about self-acceptance, self-understanding. Just by saying, you're great, you're the best. No, we're not going to do that. It's actually about teaching the child to go through the tough times with ease. How do we do it? Learning ourselves first. Second, practicing it. How? Let's say we're having a rough time. Well, breathe in and out and tell the child, we're on the earth. Life on the earth is not a playground. You are here as an immortal spirit to learn. What can we learn in this situation? That it's okay. We're not going to be down just because things that we expected didn't happen, but we're going to raise ourselves up and say, there are other things we can do. We're not doomed to the outcome of the plans that didn't happen. What can we do? See life from a better perspective. That's how we teach the child to have good self-esteem, telling them it's okay when things are not right. Self-esteem is not only about thinking that we're great, because, at some point we become narcissistic and unrealistic. We need to be realistic and say, I'm a child of God. I have potential, but I have to blossom my potential, work on it. And when I face difficulties, I shouldn't feel like, oh, I'm not capable of it. I can't do it. No, you can. You just need to keep trying. Remember, parents, it's very important for all of us, and most of all to parents and educators, to know that there are two mechanisms that are complementary and help us learn something: effort and repetition. To be patient, we need to make effort and repeat. And God is so good that presents us the opportunities of repeating scenarios so we really become skillful at being compassionate, at being patient, etc. So well-being is about constant learning too. There is no final state of well-being. Some people say, the other day somebody told me, I used to receive massages 3 times a day and I felt great. Oh, I can imagine. But the great state of mind was not in that external mode or even the physiological stimulation of endorphins. It's about your chosen state of mind. We can recruit that at any point in totally different conditions. We don't need a specific condition externally to feel anything internal. When we talk about the law of freedom, the spirits in the Spirit's book, they tell us that there is true freedom in our thoughts. And even neuroscience already tells us that the brain points to what we think. And what we think is reality. So if somebody is saying, I feel this pain, and you don't validate, please don't be cruel. Validate the feelings of that person and your own feelings. Because whatever is happening to our mind is real. And what do? We can change it. So to help the self-esteem of the person, we really need to give ourselves a coaching to difficult emotions, how to deal with them, as much as how to handle easy emotions. Because sometimes people foster so much praise that they become narcissistic and they create narcissistic kids. We don't want to go there because they become little monsters, as we can see nowadays in our own political setting in the United States. The narcissistic personality coming in place and really threatening the peace, not only of the United States, but the world. So we need to think very, very thoroughly about it. Dear listener, we're now going to march to the wrap-up of the program. We talked about well-being, and we hope you've got a good perspective on the Spiritist perspective of well-being. If you still have questions, please write to us at Kardec Radio. We have a contact form at the website kardecradio.com, and we're always happy to listen to you and write back to you as well. Right now, we invite you for the final prayer. Let's pray today for the elections in the United States, shall we? Why not? It's important for the whole world that this actually comes out in good shape. Dear Mother, Father God, we now would like to connect more deeply with your will, asking for your blanket of non-violence to cover up the wounds of the souls in the United States who are feeling the need of releasing their frustrations in choices that are less wise, less beneficial to their general good. We pray that the political candidates of this election in the United States feel your connection, that they have great responsibility as much as each one of us were living in this country. May the waves of fear be diluted in your love. May the waves of violence and aggression be diluted in your kindness. May the waves of lack of friendship be transformed into true brotherhood. May we be united to serve you as a nation. And may all the people who are living in this country and in the world feel your call to a different understanding and a change of heart. May we stay under your guidance, protection, as you grant us permission to close our program at Cardiac Radio today. So be it. Dear listener, we thank you very much for being with us. And next week we're going to be here with Marina Stiegel. She is from the Netherlands, and she's going to be talking to us about one of the most important pillars of Spiritism, reasoning our faith. It's going to be here, Cardiac Radio, next Saturday at 11 a.m. We wish you many blessings, but don't forget, God is blessing us always. All we have to do is to feel His blessings. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Cardiac Radio, broadcasting live every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Email us and share your comments at www.cardiacradio.com. Until next time, we wish you many blessings.